Hello again, amazing people. Welcome back to Building Your Health Esteem. Today's episode is titled Goals. Smart, dumb, or big, or small. Stay tuned. Well, Happy New Year to all of you. I hope that 2021 is treating you well so far. And I hope that the rest of the year goes great for you. Of course, the best way to predict the future is to create it for yourself. So a lot of you have probably dived into this goal setting your intentions for the new year. Maybe you call them New Year's resolutions. Maybe you don't believe in making New Year's resolutions. But most of us have some sort of goal. If you're new to this podcast, just take a little time to listen to the previous episodes. They are short and to the point. And there we discussed personal leadership and responsibility, your aspiration, inspiration, and creation. Creation of the space to do the work, creation of your voice, as in your self-talk, your belief or your faith in the way of being, so that you can become the best version of yourself and live this life well. I was going to record this big podcast on how to set goals and make sure that they work, and I was getting into all these acronyms, the SMART goals, the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based goals that lots of people are familiar with. Now, SMART goals are based on the idea of being very, very specific and having something that you can measure instead of creating really vague, inarticulate things. And a lot of the SMART goals are based on organizational management. They are directed primarily at businesses and teams and organizations, and they become a little bulky for the individual. So I'm not the only one, but a lot of people feel that SMART goals aren't the best for individual goals. And so I'm going to talk about two others that I really like, and then move into a book that I think you might find really, really helpful. So there are two frameworks besides SMART that I like. And one is known as H.A.R.D, and the other known as D.U.M.B. Now, these aren't great acronyms because they may have some sort of negative connotation for some. But let me just lay these out for you. The H.A.R.D, the H means heartfelt. The more emotionally you are attached to a goal, the higher likelihood that you'll achieve it. Animated. This is also something that we spoke about. The idea that you can create this movie in your mind of your vision. And the more clearer that image is, the more you animate it, the closer you will get to achieving your goal. The R in H.A.R.D is required. This is basically turning just wants into needs. And when you feel like you need to do something, you get more urgency around it and possibly avoid procrastination. The D in H.A.R.D is difficult. And the idea is that you got to stretch yourself a little bit. You got to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Make your goals a little harder than you've previously done because you need to learn something new. So I do like the H.A.R.D acronym. I think that sums things up pretty well. I do like D.U.M.B as well. Now, there are three versions of D.U.M.B if you do a Google search on D.U.M.B acronym for goals. But I like Brendon Burchard's one. And the D stands for dream driven. So it's starting with dreaming big, which we've kind of talked about in this animated and heartfelt sense of H.A.R.D. Uplifting is the U, and that is basically to inspire yourself to create a positive, uplifting goal, something that's going to make you a better person in the world and in your environment. And then the M is for method friendly, and method really is important. It's creating a practice around achieving a goal. So the steps, the process. And then the B is behavior driven. So it's also about the steps in the process, but it's looking at habit and these little triggers, these things that cue us to do things so that that behavior becomes habit. so you're better able to reach your goal. Now, I love all these acronyms, but basically they all come down to this sense of you got to have a direction, you got to set a big goal, and then you've got to come back down to the bottom and create steps in which you're going to get there. You've got to have smaller tasks that you can achieve along the way. Another thing that we see in all these acronyms is that making a goal inspiring and emotional is probably more important than the certainty of achievement or attaining that goal. Because that emotional connection is what drives your action. You can fight logic with logic. We can create a really logical goal and then we can, reason our way out of that with logic. But if we have a good emotional attachment to it, it tends to be a little stronger. And then the other part that is something about agility and, making a goal collaborative with others, building in several different versions along the way, sharing your goals and working with teams and becoming agile and knowing that a point where no matter how driven you are, there's going to be some bumps and detours and even roadblocks along your road to success. So it's important that you have something like that built in. Now, I came across a really great book that I'm just going to summarize briefly for you. So this book is called Think Small, and it's written by Owain Service and Rory Gallagher. This book, Think Small, the surprisingly simple way to reach big goals, lays out 7 steps. The first one is basically you want to pursue a single goal. And that single goal will contribute to your well-being and help you set clear targets and deadlines. Now, you're going to have to think about that a little bit because most of us create multiple goals. But there is probably one single goal that we can strive for, and it doesn't have to be over a whole year. It can be a 90-day or whatever. Something you strive for. Pursue that singularly and cut out all the noise. The second principle is set simple rules and embrace the power of habit. Now, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Those cues, those things that you actually do without even thinking are your habits. And if you can set things up in such a way that you stack a new behavior onto something that you do every single day, it becomes a cue. So every time I brew my coffee, I do 5 air squats or whatever, you're going to have some exercise taken care of if that's part of your goal to exercise every day. Then the third point I think is super, super important, and that is declaring your goal publicly. And the other part is appointing a referee if you want to. If you want to just go beyond declaring that goal to others, you can actually have someone watch over you. Now, the other part, step number 4, is using the right incentives to help you push you towards your goal. Now, this is very important in weight loss goals, which I don't like weight loss goals, but that's a separate episode. We'll see people say, well, if I eat good all day long, then I'm going to treat myself with the very foods that I'm trying to avoid when I'm being good. And that's not a very good incentive. So use a good incentive to drive you towards your goal. And I think some of the incentives that are mentioned in this book, Think Small, bring up an important point. People don't like to part with money. They don't like to lose something. So some people will put money up as a bet, but that might not be the good incentive to help your referee. Your referee is like, yeah, I could get $200 out of this if you don't make your goal. So guess what? Your referee is no longer on your side. So a better way is maybe say to your referee, I will give you this $200 if I achieve my goal, not I'll give up $200 if I don't achieve my goal. The other thing is humans are social animals. This is step number 5. So ask for help and team up to achieve goals easier and faster. Once again, this comes back to community. This comes back to challenges. This comes back to declaring goals publicly, because people want to see others succeed unless they're going to benefit from you not succeeding, which I just spoke about. Step 6 is get actionable feedback of your progress along the way. So whether that's getting it from others or getting it from yourself, a chart, some sort of checklist, something to show that you're actually making progress and you're doing what you said you were going to do. And the other thing that helps here is comparison to others. So if you have a partner, or you have a buddy, or you're in a group where other people are doing something, you can compare yourselves to them. And then, of course, the 7th is the really difficult part for a lot of people. And we'll address this in upcoming episodes, why people don't change. But 7th is stay the course. At some point, you're going to have to focus on your practice. And when that's not working, you got to experiment with what does work in your life. That experimentation is super, super important. And I believe that people who have good health-esteem recognize that when they come up against a challenge, that they just take that data and they look at creating a new experiment for what works. And if we have poor health-esteem, we come up against a challenge, we feel defeated, and we retreat. And so I don't want you to do that. And if you feel like that is something that might happen in your life, go back and listen to episode 2 and really, really focus on your being and know what's important. Hold that vision, really focus on how you want to be in the world, and know that how you're being affects how you do things. And of course, if you're being the way you want to be in the future, you will do the things that will get you there. But if you're being defeated, if you're being in a negative mindset, you're not going to do things well. So I hope that quick run through of goals wasn't too overwhelming. Please let me know if you have any other books that you think would be really, really great for goal setting or creating good habits. I have a couple of other books that I'm going to address in future episodes. And I'm going to have some guests talking about goal setting and how they feel things need to go for people to actually achieve success. So until next time, my friends, I wish you health, happiness, and ease. Thank you.